We are going to start drawing our plywood view for our project plan. So we have our project plans here. I have them open in one document, and I'm going to actually draw in a second document so I can toggle back and forth. So I've made a copy of this. It's the same file. I just added plywood view to the end. If you zoom out, I actually do have everything still drawn in here. I have just moved over to the side for a fresh start here. And so I've got this other set open. You could screenshot, you could do a variety of things to have your different views so you can see them. For the plywood view, we're specifically going to need the side view and the back view to get started. So we're going to start by drawing the biggest pieces is where I would recommend. And for that, it's probably going to be your sides and your tops. So if I zoom in here and we're going to take a little bit closer look, I'm going to have two pieces at 24 inches by 19 1/8. And I'm going to have two pieces at 55 1/8 by 15 1/8. So I'm going to lay those out first because those are probably some of my bigger pieces compared to like our shelves that are here, things like that. So let's go ahead and come back over here. And I'm going to start by drawing a box that's 96 inches long because that's the length of plywood. And I'm going to draw it 48 inches tall, 48 by 96. Now, sometimes materials might come in a little oversized, like 96.5 or 48.5. But just for the purpose of laying all this out, let's just draw a nice 48 by 96. And you may want to dimension it so when you're looking at it, you can see how big everything is. You could dimension it afterwards as well. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to just start in the corner here, and I can start right on the edge, and I'm going to come up, what did we say, 24 inches by 19 1/8. So I'm going to come up 24 and 19.125. Again, remember when you're typing in your numbers, you can see that size down here on the bottom. So make sure you get your pieces all nice and even. Now, what I'm going to do, instead of like cabinet making one, we just drew our pieces right next to each other. And typically when we were done, we had a little space on the end that was our waste. Well, because we're going to cut this out on the CNC router this year for cabinet making 2, we're going to leave a 1/4 inch in between each one. So it might be a little bit more work for you laying this out. We're going to come up 0.25. And then from that line, I'm going to come over to the edge. Now I'm going to zoom in here and delete this line. This is just some spacing. So when I bring it in to the CNC router, my pieces aren't locked together. And this leaves room for the bit to go around the outside of the pieces. So now I'm going to come up my 24 and back over. So there's my two bottom sides. Let's take a look at the top was 55 1/8 by 15 1/8. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to come over a 1/4 inch again, 0.25, and find that line. And I'm going to come up 55 and what was that, 1/8? 55 and 1/8. So I'm going to take my pencil on that second node and come up 55.125. And then I'm going to bring that over 15 and 1 divided by 8, enter, and draw that back down. So this is my top piece, my top side. And let's see what we have also for spacing over here. I don't know that we're going to have quite enough spacing for the other piece. And so we could lay this out a little bit different rather than putting these two on top of each other, because that's going to leave us a limited space up top. We're not going to really have enough room for everything else. Maybe we put these two right next to each other. And so that's all really going to depend on how you want to draw this, but we're trying to make it as efficient as possible. So I've got this whole thing turned blue, and I'm going to move this. My lines aren't touching each other. So when I move this, I'm going to start moving it. On a Mac, you're going to hit Option. On a PC, if I have that highlighted and use the 4-arrow move tool, I'm going to grab it and start to move it and hit Control. and Control will make a copy and release it so I can move it to where I want. That way I have my size correct, and then I can come over here and I can erase this line and this line and this line. I don't need those. So maybe when I do this one again, let's zoom in a little bit so we can get some better control. When I do this one, I've got this blue, and I'm going to grab the 4-arrow move tool. I'm going to pick this corner, and I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to come down here, hopefully to that second node. Is it going to be there, that 1/4 inch? I'm not seeing it. So I might have to come down a 1/4 inch first. So I'm going to come down 0.25, and now I have that second node. Now I'm going to use my move tool and the Option button to release that. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do instead, and then I'm going to come in here and erase this. All right, and now I'm going to use that line, that 1/4 inch, as my bottom for my next piece. Let's see if it didn't snap either. So let's go up 0.25, and now I have that node. So now I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to move this piece. If I double click it or triple click it, I can grab the 4-arrow move tool. I'm going to move it up to that first node. So there should be 2 nodes there. I should now have that 1/4 inch still drawn in there. It's there. Okay. And now, actually, you know what I'm going to do for this, for the convenience of hitting zoom extent, I don't want to see this all the time. So I'm just going to draw my plywood. So that every time I hit zoom extent, it shows me my plywood when I zoom into something. You're welcome to leave that. Again, I have my original over here. I have not messed with that. What I'm going to do now is I need 2 of these, one for each side. So I'm going to go, I can copy and paste, or I could use that move tool again. So I'm going to take my pencil tool, and I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to come down 0.25 again. That way it gives me a little bit of clearance for when I bring it over. I'm going to triple click this, and I'm going to start to move it from this corner here, and I'm going to hit the Option button again. Option works on the Mac. I don't know that that got stuck where I wanted it to. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to grab this again, and I'm going to move it, and Option. Make sure I don't overlap that. That's good. And take that node to that line right there. Okay, we will have to come back eventually. You can either do it now or you can do it later. And we will have to delete these little lines that I drew for my 1/4 inch reference. But it's up to you if you want to do it now, or you can do it later. Not a big deal. So now by moving these down here, I have room for a 3rd piece up here. And I'm going to need that 3rd piece right here where this divider is. So that's going to be the same depth as this, 15 1/8. Actually, it'd be a 3/4 of an inch less, because the backing is going to slide into here. And this middle piece is in the middle. It need to be 3/4 of an inch shorter. So it would be 54 3/8 by 14 3/8. So we're going to come back over here, and that was 14 3/8 by 54 3/8. So let's start drawing that one, and I'm going to come over a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to, let me zoom in a little bit here so I can make sure I'm starting on the right point. And that was 54 and 3/8. Well, I got way too many numbers in there. 54 space 3 divided by 8. And then I'm going to come down 14 space 3 divided by 8. And now I can complete that, 54 and 3/8, and draw that over. And so I have my 2 outside and my middle divider. So let's see how much material we have left here. We've got about 15 inches. And I don't think that's going to be enough for what we want to do with any of our other pieces. We might be able to use that for our 2 shelves, but let's move on. We're not going to be able to use any of the other bigger pieces. So if we take a look at these, again, they're going to be 3/4 of an inch shorter. So that was 14 3/8 by 13 7/8. So the grain length is going to be the 13 7/8. And so we're going to come here. I need a 1/4 inch, 0.25. I'm going to come down 14 space 3 divided by 8. And I'm going to come back up. What was it? 13 7/8. So come back up 13.875 and connect that over. So this is going to be one of my shelves. And I can delete this dimension because it's really not meaning anything to us right now. And I need 2 of these. So what I can do is I can double click that again and use the 4 arrow move tool. And as you move, you can hit the option on a Mac and move that down. Now, because we're not using a table saw to cut out our pieces, we can have these joints staggered because the router will just go and make the corners and everything will be nice and complete. We don't have to worry about these lining up exactly. So as long as we have that 1/4 inch gap in there, at least a 1/4 inch minimum, then we'll be good. So I've got those 2 pieces in there. I'm going to need another sheet. So I'm going to just come up here a little bit and I'm going to draw my second sheet at 48 by 96. And if I hover over this dot and drag it up, I haven't clicked. You can see I'm on a green line there. And if I click now that I have that green line, it means I'm lined up with that node and I can have my 2 sheets lined up. If that is a concern for you, it might just make things easier when you're zooming in and out. And I'm going to come up 48 and I needed to connect those 2. So this is going to be my sheet. Second sheet, sheet 1 or sheet 2, however you want to label them or distinguish them apart. So now what I need is a top, a bottom of the top, I need a top of the bottom, and I need a bottom of the bottom. So they're going to be different sizes, but the lengths are all going to be the same. That 39 1/4 is how long they are. So 39 1/4 by 2 of them at 19 1/8. And then that 39 1/4 by 2 of them at 15 1/8. So I'm going to start with my big ones again. My biggest ones would be the bottom. They're 39 1/4. And I find the end point and I'm going to come down 19 1/8 and draw that back. So there's one of them. And then I'm going to come up from this corner, 19.125. And I'm going to draw this over 39 1/4. So there's my 2 for my bottom piece. That is for this cabinet down here. It's the shelf down here and the top of this cabinet down here. Now I need 2 more, one for up here and one for down here. Again, 39 and 39 1/4 by 15 1/8. So let's make sure we're leaving that 1/4 of an inch groove for the router. So I'm going to come up 0.25. Find that node and I'm going to come down 15 and 0.125, 15 1/8, and that was 39.25, 39 1/4. I'm going to come back. And so I'm going to come over again 1/8 or 1/4 to give myself some room for the router. And then that doesn't look right. There we go. And then from that point, I'm going to come back down 39.25 and over 15.125. And I got to connect the dots, 39 1/4 and there. So, and I'm going to zoom in and erase this little connecting line that gave me my 1/4 inch groove or depth between there. So there are my 2 pieces. I put my scrap here in the middle. That way I didn't have to come over a 1/4 inch. You could butt those right together if you wanted. In reality, it's probably going to be scrap material here, not going to be good for much. If you're doing drawers, one of our examples had drawers, which we're going to put on here for an example. We could probably put some of our drawer pieces right in here and use the maximum amount of material. So let's take a look at our drawer parameters. Right, so I've got my drawer opened up my plans here with my sizes. And so I'm going to need two pieces that are 36 inches long and two pieces that are 17 and a quarter inches long. Now, how tall or wide they are going to be on this project is going to be based off the front view. So if we come to the front view, our opening minus an inch. So if our opening is 18, that's divided into, that's 9. Then we're going to take an inch off that. So we'll make these 8 inches tall. 8 inches tall by the length of 17 and a quarter and 36. So again, I'm going to try to start laying out my biggest pieces first and see if my 36-inch piece will fit here. So if I zoom in, I'm going to take my pencil and come down a quarter inch, 0.25, and then I'm going to come out 36 inches, and that was 8 inches tall, and that's going to fit nicely in there. And then I'm going to have to do another, actually I need 2 more. I have 2 drawers, so I'm going to do several more of these because I need one for the front, one for the back, one for the front, one for the back for 2 different drawers. So let's come in here and we're going to come down a quarter inch, 0.25, and then do the same thing, 36 inches and 8 inches. And while I'm here, since I have those lines drawn, I'm going to delete this little connecting point and zoom back in here at 36 and connect the dot. And then I'm going to come over a quarter inch again, 0.25, and then down 39. Whoops, 36 is my number. And I got to keep it straight. So down 36 and back over 8 and back 36 and connect the dots. And again, I do need to come in and delete that little spot there. All right, so I should have enough room to get the rest of my small pieces of my drawer, but I'm going to be short one piece. So I could run it the wrong direction up here and maybe use that towards the back of one of the drawers. And that's probably what I would recommend at this time, because rather than buying a whole other piece of plywood then that you might not need the rest of, we would put it right here. We'd have one piece going the wrong way. We'd put that at the back of the drawer instead of the front of the drawer. So if we come in here and we go the other direction here, I'm going to start right on the edge. I'm going to come up 8 inches and I'm going to come back 36 and down. Now I did use up a lot of my other space, but hopefully we can get some pieces right here. And I think it was 17 and a quarter by 8 again. So I'm going to come out a quarter inch, 0.25. I'm going to come over 8. Get there straight to 8. And that was 17 and a quarter and 8. And I'm just filling in all my pieces here so I can fit everything I need. So I got 1. I still need 3 more. So let's see what we can fit on this one. Again, we want to come up quarter inch, 0.25. And then from that point, I'm going to come over 8. And up 17.25. Ooh, that's going to put us right on the over the edge. So that's not going to work there. So what we may have to do is we might have to take this piece and either find it out of a scrap board or buy a quarter sheet of plywood if you can't fit it all on. Typically, we only sell halves or full sheets because we get into having a whole bunch of little tiny pieces left over if we do smaller than that. So right now, I think I'm going to take this one off and I'm going to see what I can fit otherwise on here for those 17 and a quarters. And if we can fit the majority of them on here, then that's just a little bit less that we'd have to buy. So I'm going to come up 0.25 and over 8. Keep that pencil straight. And 17.25. 8 and down. and erase this little marker. Okay, so there's 2 there. And again, I don't know that we're going to quite fit what we want right up here. Let's see where we are. 17 1/4 exactly. So that's unfortunately not going to be enough room because we have to leave room for the cutter to go around. So you could either, you could narrow your drawer up and not have it as deep if you wanted. You could divide your drawer openings into 2. You could put a stile in here, but then you're going to need another divider to support the drawer pieces. So at this time, we would have to draw a 3rd sheet and see how much of that 3rd sheet we're going to use. So let's just scroll up, and we're going to come up a little bit from this one. I'm going to go 96, 48. Okay, and so I'm going to really try to be on less than half a sheet. So I'm going to come out 48, and I'm going to just draw a line down here. And I'm hoping not to use that other half. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see this half a little bit better. And I'm going to finish drawing my pieces. So that was up 36 inches and down 48, down 8. And connect that dot. So there's my last side I needed. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I need 2 more of these 17 1/4. So I'm going to put them right next to here with a spacing again, 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to come up 17.25 and down 8. And then I'm going to come up 1/4 inch from there, 0.25. And I'm going to come over 8 inches. There we go. And up 17 1/4 and back 8. So there is the 2 pieces. There are the 3 pieces we are missing. Now you could, with a classmate in the shop, maybe they also need just a little bit extra, and you could go in with them and you could negotiate how you want to split this piece. I really don't care how you guys split it, as long as the entire sheet is counted for, or half a sheet, whatever you guys are working with. I need to be able to have every piece of wood logged in the shop. So if you're taking 1/4 of a sheet and your partner's taking the other 1/4 of a sheet, then we would need to, that'd be fine. We just need to log that in the logbook appropriately.